Despite the surprise release of the 35mm f1.4 in late June, this one caught me off guard as well. But a 50mm f1.4 makes sense, right? Or does it? After all, we have the original 50mm 1.8s and the fabulous 1.2s, so 3 50mm Z lenses? Hi, Ray here. First, this new 1.4 isn't an S-line, and I'll get to that shortly. The original 1.8s was the lens that I bought with my first Z6 in early 2019, so my first Z lens. And I was thoroughly impressed the first time that I used it. And it remains my most used lens. I don't own the 1.2, wish I did, but I really haven't been able to rationalize the $2,799 price here in Canada. Add 12% total taxes to that too. Yes, I did rationalize the 85mm f1.2, even though I have its 1.8 counterpart. And I won't go into the reasons here. Let's talk about this 50mm 1.4. Yes, I think it makes sense for Nikon. So many people were pining for 1.4s right from the start, lamenting that the 1.8s weren't professional, which was wrong. The 1.8s are, as I say, top-notch lenses, and I've used them professionally from day one. But I think Nikon has done a great thing here, offering these 1.4 options at a relatively affordable price. The 35mm sells for $599.95 US, and this 50 at $499.95 US. And I think we can safely assume at this point that Nikon will continue to develop this affordable line of 1.4s. You can use this at its native 50mm field of view on a full-frame camera, or on APS-C DX in Nikon parlance as a 75mm equivalent. As I mentioned, no, the 1.4s are not in the S class. S for super duper. So what does this mean? They seem to be well built from my in-store examination of the 35 anyway. Unlike, say, the 40mm f2 and 28mm f2.8 with the plastic mounts, these 1.4s have a metal mount, and they do have a seal at that end, but I think they're not quite as weather sealed generally as the S-line lenses. Nikon says dust and drip resistant, but, quote, dust and moisture resistance is not guaranteed in all situations. I don't know about you, but I do baby my lenses, especially in conditions like the heavy rain that we get here starting right now. But I might be a bit more cautious with these lenses. I don't think the fact that the main barrel is composite, at least that's what I'm assuming, going on the 35, I don't think that amounts to any deficit in terms of robustness. Optically, they're better than anything that came before them. In F-mount, I mean. I wasn't that impressed, for instance, with my 50mm 1.4G. Optically, it was not impressive, though I did make some decent photos with it, and I ended up selling it a few years back, or maybe I traded it on some Z glass. I think that's what I did. These latest 1.4s don't, however, have the advanced coatings applied to S-series lenses. I haven't been able to pin down specifics here. They're not listed, but I'm guessing the front element would have the usual coatings to repel moisture and smudges, but it's my guess that this lens wouldn't get advanced coatings, like, say, nano crystal coat, like on the 1.8, and Arneo coat found on the 1.2. This 1.4 does have, among its 10 elements in 7 groups, one a spherical element. And if you don't know what that means, and I'm no expert in optics, spherical elements help control distortion, they reduce aberrations, and help keep lenses more compact in size. Again, we have Nikon's quiet stepping motor powering autofocus, and all the focusing is accomplished internally, IF. So no movement outside the lens, no size change. And this adds to weather sealing. Close focus is 0.37 meters, 1.22 feet from the focal plane, 62mm filter thread, same as the original 1.8. At 420 grams, 14.9 ounces, it's a super lightweight alternative. The 1.8 is 415 grams, 14.7 ounces, and the 1.2 weighs in at a hefty 1090 grams, 38.5 ounces. So while the 1.4 is not a huge weight saving over the 1.8, I think gimbal users might appreciate that difference. But isn't this the most important point? What about optical performance? Since I haven't had a chance to test this lens myself, I'm going on research, including a perusal of the comparisons so far, including watching the review by and correspondence with my friend Matt Irwin, who has had time to test it out. Check his review. From what I can see, secondhand, while the bokeh isn't generally as creamy as the 1.2, it can certainly create some very nice effects. Perhaps, depending on point of focus, it competes with the 1.8. The bokeh is very nice. Bokeh balls, pleasing to my eye anyway. And this looks to be a great lens for video as well. Excellent character, as they say, and importantly, focus breathing is next to imperceptible. But I want to mention here, I was watching a film over the weekend, obviously shot with anamorphic lenses, and I noticed, because I notice these things much to the irritation of my wife when I point them out in the middle of an important scene, well, I noticed that the focus breathing was horrendous. But did it matter? It was an excellent film. The overall camera work was superb, and I'm sure I'm one of a tiny cohort of geeks who would ever notice such a thing. But this lens would pass muster with us geeks. And for a focus-by-wire lens, I do think that this is a good choice for video. Until Nikon releases its cine lenses anyway. However, I should mention that if you have a compatible camera, you can adjust the rotation range of the focus ring on this lens for precision focus pulls. So maybe focus pullers won't lose their jobs after all. There's not much else in terms of controls on this lens. So no manual auto switch, just a programmable ring that you can use for, say, aperture control, if you're like. Personally, I prefer to use the camera dial. But again, this could come in handy for video. Aesthetically, I like this lens as I do all the Z lenses. Now I know some people are nostalgic for the older designs. Beauty's in the eye of the beholder, I guess. But most importantly, the rendering of this lens looks very nice. And the price is definitely pleasing. I'm not sure I'll pick one up. As I say, the 1.2 is still on my radar. And I was very impressed with that lens when I tried it out a couple of years back. Big difference in weight and price though. So you never know. This joins now 45 other Z lenses. Nikon have done a great job, I think, in just over 5 years. Or is this 6 years since the debut of the Z system? I think it is. Anyway, here's another excellent option at a competitive price. So I'll drop an affiliate link in the description if you want to help out this channel at no extra cost to you, most importantly. So there's my thoughts on the Nikkor 50mm f1.4 lens. I hope you found it useful. If you did, please do give it the old thumbs up, and if you're new to my channel, please do consider subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you don't miss new content here. In the meantime, take care, cheers. We'll see you later.